Include. So what can we start including to show you the power of the way we set up those one-to-many relationships? We just had a discussion in our POCO objects, how we can do that, right? Just let me just remind you here in our patient class, this is the child, right? Down near the bottom here, we added these two properties, right? The actual doctor, well, that's the parent in this one-to-many relationship, right? And of course, along with it, we've specified doctor ID. Okay, following the naming convention, it will know that this is the foreign key integer, right, to correspond to the doctor's ID, right, the primary key of the doctor. And that's a nice way to have it arranged so that we can follow that naming convention, and away we go. Okay, so that gives us that. So what can we do? Well, we talked a minute ago about the fact that we can include, right? So if I come down here in the doctor's controller, if I expand the details area here, right? So we pass in the ID of the doctor, right? This is just to make sure we actually have a value and we do actually have doctors. Okay, then we're going to do our query. We go and we get the one and only doctor we want. First or default async based on our matching ID value, right? I'm just going to lay this out, just pressing enter a few times, just so we have things on separate lines all the way down through. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to do a dot include. Okay, we talked about that. Oh, look at that. It's even helped me out. Yes, it's the patient's collection I want to include in the doctor, right? So again, inside the doctor class, we have this patient's collection. Okay, it's an I collection of patient objects, right? Notice we initialize it to an empty collection, just so that it's not null when we go to use it, right? Which can only really affects the dot add process, but it doesn't hurt to have it there. Okay, so coming back, to the controller. All we've really done by saying dot include the patients is we've changed the LINQ query so that when it writes the SQL, it's going to do much more than select from doctors. Now it's going to select from doctors, right, and have the whole join clause defined between doctor and patient. So it's selecting from both tables with the proper join in place. And that way we'll actually, when we populate this doctor object, we'll include all of the related patient records as well, right? That's it. That's the only change we have to make in the controller. It's an example of what we talked about as eagerly loading. We're eagerly loading all the patients into this particular one doctor. Now, it doesn't have to be a case where it's only one. Even in the index, right? We could actually, when we pull all the doctors, we can include the patients in every one. That works just as well. But we're just going to focus here, getting the patients for the one doctor we're seeing the details of. So that's the only change we have to make to the controller. The rest happens in the actual view. So here's the doctor's detail view. Remember our model for the view, it's a strongly typed view, is the single doctor, right, that we're going to focus on. Okay. Well, this is using that structure we've talked about before. Okay, this is our description list, basically. It's made up of two parts, paired description terms, and then the actual data, right? Description, definition, or value, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add yet another pair, right? I'm going to copy and paste that, and we'll just replace what's going on inside each pair, right? Okay, didn't need that extra white space. I'll just take it out. All right, so basically, okay, we had first, middle, last name. So this is what is our patient's collection, right? So we'll use the display name for that, which I believe is just patients. Let's have a look. Actually, there is no display name defined because patient stands on its own. We don't have to give it a display name. The name itself will work just fine, right? But I'll show that here, right? Now what we're going to replace is the actual information shown, right? Now, where do I already have code that puts together a list of patients? Oh, yes, on the patient's index view, right? Here we have a whole table, right, showing of information about the patients. Well, I'm going to cut it down. I don't think I need to recreate the entire set of data here that we're showing on this table, but I'm going to grab the table because, hey, if some work is already done for me, why not take advantage of it? So I'll copy that, right, come back to the doctor details, and I'm just going to paste it in. Okay. Now, as I said, we don't really want to show all of this, and we have to make some other changes as well. But I think I might show the full name and the age, right? Maybe even the phone number. Why not? I'm going to take everything else out. I'll take out the expected yearly visits. I'm going to take out the email, and I don't need to show the doctor, obviously, because we're already focusing on who the doctor is, right? And you know what, this TH, well, this was for that extra column where we had the links for like edit and so on. So we're going to take that out as well, right? I'm going to have 3 columns here, right? So I'll just make sure I make the same changes down inside the loop. Take out the expecting a revisit. I'll leave the phone formatted, okay? And we'll take out this extra column with all those links, right? Okay, so that, is almost ready here, but, this display name for. Well, the problem is this was written for the index view for the patients, right? Coming back here, remember, the model for this view is a collection, an IEnumerable collection of patients, right? Whereas our model on here is a single doctor, okay? So if we're going to follow the good practice of pulling data from the metadata provided by the class, I can still use display name for, I have to confess, it's awfully tempting just to delete this whole thing and put patient or patient name. Delete this and put age. But, to be consistent, right, what I can do is I can pull it from the metadata provided by just adding a little bit here, right? Because remember, our model in this case is the patient's collection, right, inside the actual doctor. So I go dot patients, right? And trouble is, it's a collection, right, where display name belongs to a single object, right? So I have to go first or default. Oh, let me get my period. That way IntelliSense first or default, right? That's a method, so put brackets. And then I can access the full name. So it's going to pull the display name for patient.first or default, and then I can access the property from that model. So I'll just put the same bit of code inside each of these. And then the underlining should go away, right? Bit of extra work, but basically this allows us to follow the good practice of pulling it from metadata instead of hard coding our values in. That way, if they ever change the display name property on any of these things inside the patient class, it will update appropriately on this page here, right? Okay, so that's the first fix. Now the next one here is in our for each loop, right? And remember our model on the previous page of this code I stole it from was a collection of patients. Well, here it's the one doctor, but you know what? That doctor has the patient's collection. And there we go. All right. Now the error has gone away because we're going through each item now is one of the patients inside our model. Our model is the doctor, right? And we don't have to change any of this. This is all perfectly fine, okay? To prove it, let's actually run this now. Just take a moment to come up. I could pause, but hey, it won't take long. Okay, so if I go to doctors, go to details on a doctor, look at that. Okay, so now beside the full middle last name and the only thing I might see here, well, I guess I see it all on the index anyway. But anyway, now I'm seeing the entire list of patients, right? The patient, the age, the phone number, all nicely formatted, and away I go. Last thing I might do is, well, what if I come here and I think, oh, okay, so I see Wilma J. Flintstone is a patient of Dr. Gregory House. Wouldn't it be nice if this was a link I could click on to go see the details of that particular patient? Well, that's a pretty easy fix. So we're going to do that next. Okay, so I'll just pause my recording for a sec. Okay, I only paused it because I had to sneeze. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make the full name here a link that you can click on to go to the patient details page. So it gives you a chance to talk a bit more about those HTML helpers, right? And so on and so forth. So, what I'll often do is rather than try to work around this, we're going to use the display name as the information that's underlined in the link. But I'm going to start defining the link up here first, right? So a link is just an A, right? But as we've seen, I can go ASP dash. Now, can I just do action? If I just specified the action, it would have to be an action inside the same controller that this came from. Well, this came from the doctor's controller, right? Well, no, I need to switch to a different controller. So I have to specify both the controller equals patients. Notice I don't say patients controller, I just say patients, right? Then ASP dash action equals details, right? Okay. Oh, there we are. So now, this is the code. Did it actually have it correct? does. I was just going to copy it from here and paste it inside, but I could have accepted that change, right? So all we've done is we've wrapped the display name, or the display for the full name, inside this, so it will be a LINQ using our ASP controller, ASP action, right? Oh, that's not all. We also need to supply the ID, right? Because remember, we go to the details, we actually have to have the ID as well. So ASP dot, dash, okay, sorry, I'm having trouble here. 1 sec. Okay, so it is the ASP route dash ID, right? But of course, the value is going to come from, okay, the item dot ID. Oh, I need a dot there. All right. Forgot one thing, okay? I need my @ symbol there because this is razor. There we are. All right. So it's going to call the patient's controller, the details action, and it's going to pass this item. This item is a particular patient, okay, coming from the doctor, which is our model, patient's collection, and pulling the ID property. Okay, I have to have that @ symbol there to indicate, no, this is razor code. This is C# embedded into this HTML. All right, so now let's see if this works. If I can do a hot reload, just bring it up again. Nope, no, it can't do it. I'll have to rebuild, apply changes, and then now it can come back up. Okay, so I'll go to doctors, go to details. I'll pick a different doctor this time, Doogie Howser. There's only one patient here for Doogie Howser, but look at that, the name. And I can see right at the bottom, this will go to my website, /patient/details/3. And there it is. So here's the details of that patient. Now, if I go back using the arrows in the browser, then I do come back to the doctor details, right? But if I just go back to list, then I'm still, of course, I was in the patient's controller. So once more, I'm back just on the list of patients. All righty. Okay, so I think that finishes our demo. Let me just close this for now. So just to quickly review what we did, maybe I can just push enter here, just get it down on one line, right? What we did is we added, okay, most importantly, this dot include, right? So that gives me all the patients inside the doctor object. Then in the details view, I was able to add this new pair here, right, in my description list. And in the data to show, we just added the table showing these 3 columns, okay, modified for each loop, so we're looping through the patient's collection inside our doctor, right? And for each one, I'm showing the data that I want to show with display for, just as we would in other like index views and so on. But I've just wrapped this inside of an actual LINQ. All right, there you go. That's the end of this demo.